Evening all. We're here. You can hear us. It's all happening. Good evening, Danny. I bet you're a relieved man.
I am. I hope you can hear me. But yeah, God, that was so frustrating. Goddamn technology.
Yeah.
No explanation for it.
How dare this free software screw us over? You people at StreamYard HQ, you better sort this out next time. Otherwise you'll have to pay us to use this software. Unbelievable. Anyway, we're gonna get straight down with it. We're not going to moan too much. We're not going to let this dampen our sort of pre-Christmas spirit, if that is a thing. So yeah, anyway, I'm pleased that you're here anyway, and we can crack on. We'll try and keep it brief anyway, because I know some of you have been waiting. You wanted something on whilst you were doing the painting of the back bedroom or ironing or whatever it is you like to do whilst you listen to Last Resort. No judgment. So yeah, we'll crack straight on. But more importantly, actually, let's try and get into FPL mode, because I don't know about you, I haven't actually now for the last half an hour or so, I've forgotten what we're going to talk about entirely. It might be a bit lumpy to start with, just say that much. And my usual spin-offs by talking about sort of record recommendations or whatever. You're just going to have to look back through the chat. We've been talking about Christmas songs. If you like that, put likes and subscribe, even if it's just because you feel sorry for us fixing sound issues for 40 minutes, and that'd be nice. Okay, one quick thing. You had a good week, didn't you, actually, from memory? So we'll go back and have a look at your team in a minute. So there's a few things to celebrate. There are things to look forward to as well, because one of us is going to be hitting the final chip of the pre-Christmas kind of period. So there is a lot to talk about this evening. I'm going to say a quick thank you to all the people in the chat who've been keeping me company, asking me about my favorite Christmas songs. For some reason, someone asked me about my favorite Scott Walker album. So thank you for that kind of question. More of that, please. But especially to FPL Grimes, he asked that question. Eno asking about Christmas music. Lots of other people keep me company. Neil Shah's been asking about the link to the mini league, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Many people besides David, Gareth, Zach Farner. We'll come to you in a minute, Zach. And a nice Christmas message here, actually, Danny. Look, God bless you, merry gentlemen. Yeah, merry might be a bit of a stretch, but I would say gentleman is fair.
I thought you were just going to pull up that Christmas tree that I can see from David, just a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you were just joking, but yeah, go
on. Let me just sort this out. That looks like a mess. So, great. Okay, good. Right, we're going to crack on. So, game week 17. Team talk there. A couple of exciting players on the thumbnail. Cunha and Nico O'Reilly. So we'll talk about them. They'll come up as we go on. That's actually in entirely the wrong order, but I'll do it because it's on the screen anyway. But everything is a bit amiss tonight. Yeah, just a quick word, because the league, the mini league, if you are listening or watching, the code that's going to close soon. And you've only got this week and next. Well, yeah, but basically, I will remember just before Christmas to tick the button that says no. You can't come in. And that means someone like Zach Farnell is going to be laughing in your face because he's top of the league at the moment. Finally, he's moved from a third spot to top spot. So Zach Farnell, final score. As Zach himself says in the chat, this one's dedicated to you, Rich. Final score's biggest supporter. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm guilty. No one said that we weren't corrupt here. If you send me enough biscuits or whatever it is, then I will make sure that we still don't have a sponsor. So never know. So Zach wants it closed. Other people don't. There's a couple of new names there. So Matthew Nuttall, Defcon Dynamos, James Early, Lucas Sass, they're all relatively new. And Sarah, she's been pushed down to number 6. The league code then, LZK I6K. So if you are still interested, do make sure you go about it. And Ben Warburton, who I believe is the leader of a bread empire, that'll only work with UK viewers. House Martins, 105 points. I didn't look at that team, but wow, it's pretty impressive. He must have had a lot of Man United and Bournemouth players.
We haven't actually. I was just thinking we haven't got a prize for our league, have we? I mean, we're an old school new, which is pride, isn't it? Should have organised. I don't know. I'm trying to think because I did that. I was winning this surprise shirt league. There's a league I'm in. I don't even know whose it is. I think it's like FPL Boys or something. I don't know if there's just not many people in it or I've just had good seasons. But I think I've won it like 2 years in a row or 2 out of the last 3 years. And it's this surprise shirt sponsor. I might speak to him because you get to choose like a pretty cool football kit that's like hung up and signed and all this sort of stuff. I think I'm like second again this year. So if I win it again, it's taking the piss. I'm gonna have to leave. I'm gonna have to leave the league. But yeah,
well, I mean, what could we actually send people as a prize that we can afford to do?
No, exactly. We've not reached like last resort coasters yet, have we, or mugs? So I don't know. What we'll have to think.
I don't know. You know, perhaps a pack of pencils, something that would be free to anyone working in a school or university. We
could have Richie's Desert Island discs.
Yeah, well, that's it. I could send you. I tell you what, I could make a YouTube playlist and send that to you. that sounds like I could do it for free. So yeah, something like that. But if you have any ideas, please do. Or the best case scenario for us, please, if you can all lose to Danny or I, and we could become top. I mean, actually, have you noticed that neither of us have been in the top 6 all season? That's a bit embarrassing.
No. But also, if one of us wins, we don't need a prize, so that would be good.
Yeah, well, we could just go for a drink and laugh in your face. So that'd be terrific. So, you know, all you Ben Warburton types trying to swing by and be all big man on campus. Yeah, none of it. No, but congratulations to you all. I'm tempted to make a sort of highbrow academic joke about stanza, which, you know, if you know your sort of poetry, rhyming patterns, we don't need to go into that. But, you know, if it is that, clever, well done. Anyway, let's move on. Last week, then, this was me. So 81 for the Hammersmith Hardman. Trying to remember what happened now. It feels like an age ago now that we've been fixing sound problems all evening. But yes, not much to report really, I suppose. So I bought. Actually, no, I remember now because by free transfers, wasn't it? O'Reilly came in for Joe Rodon and the other move. Well, I didn't do a goalkeeper transfer because there was a possibility that Pope might be back, which has turned out to be something of a minor disaster. And we'll talk through that a little bit later on.
Thiago, didn't you?
Oh yeah, and Thiago. Yeah, everyone bought in Thiago, didn't they, for Mateta? And again, I mean, that didn't do anything for obvious reasons. I mean, actually, I've already heard plenty of people talking about selling him, so I'd be interested to see your view on that. But that seems to be the main thing. Fairly, I would say happy, except for the cheap midfielders, which are kind of, they're doing me in a bit. I don't know why I have Anderson and Minte now. It's that kind of situation where I need to work my way out of it, but I can't. It's not the right week to work my way out. There's nothing I can do about it this week either. So next week, yeah, probably next week, 18, there are some targets next week, whereas this week there just aren't really. So I'm just going to sit on my hands, play 4 at the back, and get on with it. But yeah, 81 points. The heroes being Foden, Bruno, and Saka. So at least the justifying their price tag. And a certain Erling Braut Haaland is going to be my triple captain this week, and we'll talk about that a little later on. Over to you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sort of 90% sure. Yeah, I can't be done with dwelling on that anymore. Yeah, you can do it later. We can talk about that later. There is one other option. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't send you a screenshot because you didn't ask one, so I didn't know if we were doing a review. But yeah, you said I had a good week. You had a better week than me, but it was only 1 point in it. But
I thought for some reason I just thought you must have. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just a decent week. I don't really know. I don't want to say it wasn't good because there's probably loads of people with much worse, and that'd be a really annoying thing to say. But yeah, it was good. Green arrow, so we take it. Hardly moved, but yeah, great. I mean, obviously, I did 3 transfers. I already had Thiago in. I moved early because I had sort of 0.1 wriggle room. So on the Saturday night, I brought in KDH, Timber, and who was it? I'm trying to think. Jesus, don't even know myself. KDH, Timber, and who the hell did I bring in?
Supporting Timber, Dewsbury Hall, and Saka.
Saka. Oh God, yeah, because I didn't actually have Saka. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's why I said you had a good week because you replaced Mbuemo, really, when you think about it, didn't you? It was Mbuemo
Yeah,
to
it wasn't
which was
Bremer,
great,
yeah.
really good.
Yeah. It was just obviously it worked out well. I wasn't happy about selling Burmo this week, and he should have scored really yesterday. But I knew I wanted to captain Saka, so that's fine. And yeah, I guess we'll talk about the Timber move because that relates to some of the other questions maybe in the pod, I think, in my head that you've showed me before. And I mean, yeah, like I did the 3 moves on like the Saturday, and by the Sunday or the Monday, I think I was minus 0.4 off the moves. So there was, I know, like we had Alan on last week, and he was talking about how frustrating the free hit was, and you know, and Baker mentioned this a while ago. To be fair, didn't he, about thinking about ahead to the free hit weeks ago, and we're thinking about the value thing, and that did play out. It seems to be from a lot of people, you know, do free hit who maybe missed out on a lot of rises, and a lot of team value. Alan reckons he missed out to like close to $1 million or something, you know. So it's probably happened with a few people. But yeah, so that's I was very happy with those 3 transfers, but Dewsbury Hall, I mean, he was the key that unlocks sort of so many plans, and it was just, to me, it was just such a sensational pick for so many reasons that we don't really need to talk about now, because I imagine he's out, although people are talking about like, oh, I hope he's okay. I mean, to be honest, that would just confuse me now. We'll talk about KDH later and the moves, but yeah, I can't see that being the case. If someone goes off with a hammy, I can't see them being okay for a few weeks. I just don't know why that would be the case.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so obviously we'll talk about moves next week, but very kind of weird and frustrating because he was central to all future moves, wasn't he, at that price, and the player that you're happy to play a lot of weeks, and he was even happy to play him this week. So yeah, but apart from that, decent, good. Nothing else to say really. I already had Thiago in, and that was fine.
And just remind us, how many moves do you have this week in theory?
So I've got 3, but obviously Dewsbury Hall fully screws me because it's a transfer last week and it's a transfer this week, most likely.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that's a fairly decent position there, isn't it? So yeah, so you've really one issue, and you can afford to bench him this week, aren't you? I think you're quite flush, aren't you? There's a good first bench, and
I can, but we'll talk about that when we get to the team because I won't. I'll probably sell him.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Great. So just a quick update on some news, actually, because Jamie Clark in the chat is our man on the scene, and Haaland is rested tonight. So I think it will take some persuading to wrestle me off the chip, to be honest with you. So lots of dilemmas. We'll get straight into it, really. There's lots of questions here. I mean, because we are a bit late starting, we might be a bit speedy through these. So forgive us if we don't cover everything. Nudge us in the post-stream chat. Provided you like, subscribe, and share. Then we might well get back to you with anything else that we've missed, etc. And that was a bit of a naughty moment there, wasn't it, for me? But yeah, please do. There's quite a few kind of player questions this week. I'm tempted actually to just cover off, seeing as we've already been talking about the triple captain, to go on FPL Easy's question there first, and then go through all of these other player questions, if that's all right with you. So the second question on the screen, actually, so I'm doing it in the wrong order, but it makes sense to me, is about triple captain Haaland this week, or wait until Bruno in game week 19. I don't know why I put double question mark there, but that's from our good friend, and I believe he's in the chat, FPL Easy, who sends us some good questions every week, so thank you. He doesn't listen to anything we say, though, so I don't know, for better or worse. I hope it goes well for him, but I'm not sure our advice is really necessary. Triple captain Haaland. Yeah, I mean, so I'm in this position. Danny's used his triple captain earlier in the season on Haaland. That was probably game week 5 or 6 or something, wasn't it? Back then, way back
6.
when. In my situation, it's my last chip because of obviously a high dosage of self-hate. I'm quite keen to use it up against my own team this week. I can't really lose, can I? No, but that's nothing to do with it. I almost certainly will be using it. I do like the Bruno shout in game week 19, and that would be definitely the other option. My sole reason for being a little, if I was on the fence about it, it's just simply that this is here, this is now. I like this fixture. I know what the player is likely to be up against. West Ham is still very, very leaky. I don't really have any reason to believe that it isn't a good idea at this point in time. So I'm quite happy to go ahead with it. But what do you think, Danny? I mean, objectively, if you were in this situation as someone who's not, in the kind of mental state of like, I've got to use it at some point soon. What do you think? I think my main reservation, to be honest with you, would simply be if I get to game week 19 is the last time I can use it. Is that right? I think.
Oh yeah, probably. I guess so.
I don't know whether that is whether I have to use it by 9. We should know this, obviously. I'm pretty sure you could use it during game week 19. But of course, if something goes wrong, and it will, that would be my my issue with it. I'm quite happy with this one. In a 50-50, I'm very happy to kind of flip it to this week. But yeah, over to you, Danny.
So we're starting on just discussion about the triple captain there, yeah?
Yeah, that's all right. I just think because I've already brought it up, and because our good friend, our good new friend, Joe Clark, has brought up the Haaland benching. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have many thoughts on it, and I think it's probably worse. I mean, I have used it because I'm probably in a different position as well mentally. I don't know, because I did use it on Haaland, having sort of failed on the triple captain for years. It just not got me any points for years, basically. And then, I just wanted to get it out on a nice early season Haaland that was kind of nailed on to play, which is like similar to this week and good fixture and stuff like that. And obviously that worked and it was great. And so I think the fact that the chips have kind of worked for me pushes me back to more like my normal mindset where I'm kind of like, I'd be happy. I think I'd be equally happy, to be honest, with Haaland this week, or for example, Bruno in 19, just because of the appeal of the lower ownership and the avenues to points and stuff. I do have a little bit of just a 2% niggle about just West Ham in this fixture and sort of Nuno, and they are quite, and they've not. I don't know, I don't expect City to be sort of all guns blazing really in this game. No. I might be wrong there. It's sort of that time of season now where that's a little thing in my head where it's a bit of like, look after yourselves. And City have to do that less than anyone. But again, when we go back to like game week 6 or whatever it was, that wasn't really the case at all. And that was one of the things that really appealed to me about early season, was just virtually one game a week type stuff. And they're really fresh, and the better teams are even better than the ones who are sort of not, the lesser teams that fitness haven't caught up yet. So there is a little bit of but it is very logical. It's very logical. So, and obviously, Bruno at the moment, I mean, Wolves, great fixture. So I like it in terms of all I see with Bruno, again, really simplistically, is just this solid guy, 90 minutes, loads of avenues, and the ownership will be lower. The rewards will be higher, potentially. The potential is higher for the triple captain. And given that it's so close to Haaland, I do quite like it. So I am actually fairly torn. But also, I can totally see your sort of stance of like, let's not overthink it. It's just triple captain. It's just some extra points. Play it where it feels good to you.
Yeah. It would take. Honestly, I'm not going to move on it. It's one of those things. I just know what I'm like. I know I'm not going to change my mind on this one. But I think it's absolutely plausible that Bruno does outscore. I just think that the everything is set up in a reasonable position this week to use it. And
I mean, the other thing that we've sort of discussed before is that this is obviously new, where we've got 2 triple captains. Like in previous seasons, there's more of that argument where in previous seasons to hold it in order to have a slightly more control over your outcome in the season. Normally you can hold it for as long as you want, and if you think you're doing really badly, you've got that control to go to Hail Mary it on someone really low owned that you really like, that no one else is going to go there, or go safe. Whereas it's different now because we have to use it by game week 19. So we're not, even by game week 19, we don't know how much we want to Hail Mary. So that obviously makes it just on paper, the first triple captain should just be as logical as possible, really.
I think the other thing, by the way, this is just a small note for Easy and anyone else thinking about it, is that, okay, so I can't remember the exact dates, but game week 17, obviously deadline at the weekend, right? Game week 18, what is Boxing Day? That's right, yeah. And game week, I needed to check this, but game week 19, which is the one that's being talked about here, let's just double check that, would
Mhm.
be 30th of December. Now, my guess is that there'll be very limited press conference information or news of any niggles or anything like that. Now, again, it's Bruno, right? The chances of this being a problem are very unlikely, but using a chip in 19 with no press conference information is not ideal, is it? Let's be honest. I know that we could pretend they're all sort of sexy risk takers here, but that doesn't feel like a recipe for anything good to me. And it's also, what is it? So it's a midweek deadline with no press conferences on the Tuesday after Christmas. I just don't like that.
No, fair enough. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad in terms of the press conferences. I mean, United are on the Friday. United have actually got an extra day's rest than every other team because they play, and apart from Newcastle, because they're the only team that plays on Boxing Day in Gameweek 18. And then it's Tuesday night against Wolves.
True, yeah.
I do like those nighttime fixtures after Christmas. See some goals and stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's just. I basically, I have no problem either way, is what I'm saying. I'm not going to try and persuade you. I think it's not enough that just the press conferencing isn't enough for me to say that it's not a good one on Bruno. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
The rest tonight for Haaland is big. By the way, I just want to get this out of my head so that I can think more clearly for the rest of the pod. But we will talk about it in a bit. But just looking at the City team, I'm a little bit disappointed to see O'Reilly not be rested tonight.
Oh, is he playing? Yeah.
Because not many names are playing from the first team. Not many. Reinders, Nico, and that's about it.
Who's it against? Is it against an easy?
It's I should know because it's the cup, isn't it? And I've just completely forgotten because our brains are so frazzled because of what's happened tonight. But the chat will tell us. Just completely forgotten.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't think there's all that much to talk about with triple captain. Go safe or go on someone else. I mean, the other thing to say is, just like everything, it's not that big a deal. It's like the captaincy. You're gonna captain Haaland this week, for example. If you're not using the triple captain, it doesn't, even just with captaincy, it never works out as that big a thing. One returns and one doesn't. You're going to end up being 6-7 points down, maybe, unless it's really worst case, extreme end of the spectrum, and one of them double returns and one of them blanks. That's very unlikely. So it's never as big a worry as people make it. And the nice thing with Bruno is the avenues. So that lifts that floor a bit in terms of how much damage it can do to you. It would be really quite shocking if Bruno didn't get anything at home to Wolves, to be honest.
Just a quick thing, actually, because I know that, again, we're not in the... we're going to ask about face a little bit here, but just some other team news, Danny, that just to kind of get your instant reaction on. But okay, so that's interesting. So Aki, I was going to say, I wondered if Aki was going to play in that position instead, but he is playing alongside Kusanov in central defence. But more importantly, no Thiago in the squad at all is interesting. Any thoughts? It seems odd that he wouldn't be in the squad at all. So you'd have to think that there'd be something going on there, a little niggle or something.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to speculate really. Shari and Al Damsgaard. That's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a slap in the face that all of us have been waiting to bring him in. Brought him in last week for a blank and then an injury potentially. Well, we'll see. As we say, we're just reacting to this live. And it is a substandard starting 11. It's just odd that he's not in the squad. So keep an eye out for that. I think most of us have a decent first bencher this week. I certainly will. It'll be a DEFCON defender or something along those lines. So I'm not hugely worried, but it's a bit frustrating. And also the other big news that only I care about, and Donny, our good friend Donny, who supports the pod perhaps just as much as anyone else, if you're on Twitter. Nick Pope's still not in the squad, so every day, my God, waiting for Newcastle information. As you know, lots of hints about, he might be back for this game. I don't know whether I can be done with taking this risk anymore. I just can't stand it anymore. It's just not worth the headspace. Even though all of the other people I could move to probably have worse fixtures than Newcastle. It's doing my head in basically. So I don't think I can take it anymore. Anyway, we'll come to that later because I don't want to ruin it for everyone. Let's go through some of these players then. Sorry, go on, Danny.
No, I'm just sort of frantically searching Thiago's Instagram or something. I can't even find his account, so I'll scrap that now and give up. Yeah, we'll talk about that, I suppose. Well, it's relevant to the first question, I suppose, isn't it, as well?
And the chat, actually, by the way, for what it's worth, a few other people saying other names of importance. Henderson not in the squad, could just be a rest. So, maybe we should just give them time. I'm pretty sure Keith Andrews is relatively straightforward as far as they go, right? So that's good. So
no, that's good seeing Henderson. I mean, he's just sort of thrust in this season, hasn't he? He's had long injuries, and I was playing loads of games. They've gone a bit off it, haven't they, in the last couple of games, Brentford? So maybe it is. Let's hope. Let's see.
And it's worth saying for the chat or anyone listening who's sort of frantically making Plan B scenarios that on the BBC's formation, I should say, and that's dubious enough. They've got Sharda with Damsgaard supporting in their formation, and neither of them played in the last fixture, right? So it might just be an opportunity to play a fairly fresh team, and so on and so forth. So we'll leave that for now. Let's look at some of the players that people are interested in this week. Then our good friend Alex Ball and Ken, or General Zod, as you know him on Blue Sky. They asked variations of this question. They asked about Ekitite, and it is an interesting one, isn't it? Because, of course, there's various things that you can do here as a player in great form. I can't help, probably like a lot of people, think, if only they hadn't have bought Isaac as well. There's no point going through that kind of scenario in your head. But he has looked fantastic whenever I've watched him. Is it worth ripping up teams for Ekitite and moving to 3-4-3? Or, of course, and this is probably most likely for if I was looking at a player like this, it would be to stick with the formation most likely, and it would be to move on Thiago. Not that I'm saying that's at all likely. But yeah, what do you think of Ekitite? I mean, I say there were other questions about Liverpool assets more generally, but I think this is the one that's got the most traction this week because, of course, Szoboszlai, had a little bit of an injury worry, which looks like it probably is fine. But what do you think of the player, and him as an FPL option is probably the more important point, because obviously he's definitely a good player.
Yeah, I mean, just watching him on Match of the Day, I think that was the biggest takeaway, really. I mean, I've didn't get a chance to see some of the games on Match of the Day, annoyingly. I've not seen all games on Sunday yet, but I was kind of flicking through those games. But he was the biggest takeaway, really, just watching Liverpool. Obviously, I know that he's been good for a while and stuff, but you've got to sort of start to take it in a bit more and watch him a bit closely and think about what's going on here. And I mean, like, Jesus, first of all, that's the base point, is like, wow, this guy is just properly on it at the moment. Like we always say, don't know how long it's going to last. But it was like a level of confidence / arrogance in a player, that in a striker especially, that's quite rare, and that you want to see. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Like the type of finish, even for the first goal, to just kind of flick it up like that and then lace it, and still, but that, it's hard to explain that type of finish where you sort of lace it into the top middle of the net. That's a sort of, you do that on the street, don't you? You do that growing up because you just know that it goes in, and it's kind of not right. You're not hitting the sort of bottom corners like you're supposed to, but you know it goes in. So when you're doing that for Liverpool in the Premier League, it kind of says quite a lot. And obviously his celebrations and the way he celebrates, and just the size of the guy. I mean, when he makes those runs, he's done this a good few times, but when he makes those runs from sort of deep and he actually receives the ball, and his first touch always takes it past the player. I mean, I don't know if it's just like, I've just seen it happen a good few times this season. His first touch is always perfect, knocks it past the player, and he goes past them with ease. He doesn't even require any skill. So he's got this sort of pace and power and size that then you combine it with confidence. And in that sort of team, that sort of player, that's like the sort of focal point of this attack, that's like not, you know what I mean? It's like a sort of goal scoring type. It does look incredible. So that's the sort of first point. Like, he looks incredible, and I would be very happy to have him in my team. Very, very happy to have him there. I feel very confident about him. I don't know if there's any more to say about the player. I mean, there isn't really. I mean, they signed him. They must have signed him. And, they must have signed Isak, basically, just in case Ekitike didn't turn out to be everything that he could be or they wanted him to be. And the fact that, obviously, they had an opportunity to sign Isak, and Isak's amazing, and they know what he can be in the history, and they know they've done it in the Premier League. But they've got a real problem now because Ekitike has done. He is basically, right now, as good as he could have possibly been right now. And that's really difficult because it's just so good that it's difficult for anyone to readjust to think, how do I measure this against Isak? It's really quite difficult. Because in a way, Isak, although he proved himself, like, he does less for a team, I suppose, doesn't he? He's not quite as physical. He's not quite as big. He's not quite as much of a presence, but he's got this incredible pace and ability to finish. And so when you're Isak, you kind of have to be what he was last season, really, to be absolutely nailed in a team like Liverpool. You do have to be what he was last season, which was really special. I don't know how easy it is for him to just get back to that. So that's another thing, Maybe he has to do a bit more, really, than Ekitike in a way, just because of what Ekitike brings in terms of his presence and physicality and, as I say, confidence and fitness and all the other stuff. But, and I do expect him to start every game because you think with the manager at the moment, he has to start Ekitike. Because with the manager, it's a bit like the whole Salah thing, hasn't he? It's sort of like you feel like the manager was backed into a corner where it was like, right, okay, now it's getting out of control. I actually could lose my job. So now I don't care anymore in terms of trying to please the fans, trying to please the owners, trying to make way for this or that and what we've paid for this, what we've paid for that. When you're backed into a corner, it becomes about just results. It becomes about, like, you do what's best now to get results. Everything else goes out the window. Piss off everyone else. And that meant dropping Salah. It meant a few other things, and it meant playing Ekitike, and that's the end of the story. So that's where we're at. So, and that's going to stay like that at the moment, for now. But obviously, we don't know how long that lasts with Ekitike in terms of that confidence. We haven't seen it yet in terms of that just ability and everything else, blah, blah, blah. So the only thing, but the thing in terms of FPL with Ekitike, all that being said, I was speaking to Zoff about it the other day because he was sort of thinking about that as a position, and I think Zoff talks to Alex a lot as well, so probably thinking similar things in terms of that option. And one of the things that I said to Zoff was thinking of the alternatives, for example. So this is the important point. So the alternatives are the midfielders, and at that price, we're talking about 7.9, 8 million. We're talking about Thiago, so we'll talk about that as well. But we're also talking about someone like Bowen, for example. And I think that the Bowen conversation is really interesting with Ekitike because I think that it's a really good example of most people, in my opinion, not properly understanding the value of minutes and robustness. I think it's a good example where people don't have Bowen close enough to Ekitike, in my opinion, based on the minutes and robustness. Like, Ekitike is a better player than Bowen if they both play 90 minutes. Is a better option right now. It's just, sorry. I should have said a better option in FPL right now, right?
Thank you. Jesus.
That's fine. But obviously that isn't the case. So Ekitike has to do so much to be better than Bowen over the next 7 or 8 weeks, when I might just have Bowen's just an example that I'm using, by the way. Might just have to get back up Bowen's fixtures now because that's obviously part of the conversation, because I remember that they are ridiculous. But so this is in the context of the fact that Bowen he's got Man City this week, but then he's got Fulham at home, Brighton at home, Wolves away, Forest at home, Spurs away, Sunderland at home, Chelsea, Burnley. Incredible fixtures. So Ekitike, so many separate boxes have to be ticked and go right for Ekitike. He has to carry on starting every game. He has to get good minutes over 60. He has to maintain his place in the team. Isak has to start playing incredible and push those minutes further back. He has to not get injured, obviously. That's an obvious one. But he has to actually continue scoring a lot, right? So he has to actually get those returns. So many separate boxes have to tick, which, of course, that could happen. He's still a great pick. He's still a great option. You do expect him to get better open play chances than Bowen. But there's an awful lot of things that have to be ticked for him to get better than Bowen, who already has loads of those boxes ticked. There's no one threatening his place. It's 90 minutes every single week. He's incredible for bonus. He is a talisman. Yeah. He's very fit right now. He's already proven. He's already proven in the league. He's already proven in the team. all of these things. So he just needs to tick away. He just needs to play every game like he always does, get that baseline minutes. You know, he's going to get those few goals. He's in those fixtures. Of course, in those fixtures, the way he's playing right now, those goals have been 9-point goals for Bowen typically, because as Alan was talking about, you know, West Ham typically concede. They obviously got to get these 1-1 games, 2-1 games. Bowen's really good on the bonus. So this isn't me saying Bowen is better than Ekitike, but in my head, it's very close, to be fair. Very close. Extremely close. And actually, maybe even he is a bit better still, because of all those unknowns and those minutes and those really significant things. It has to be, you know, the last couple of weeks he's braced in the last 2, I think. You know, you really have to keep up an amazing level over, because you have to think of something as a 6-week, 8-week, 10-week thing, in my opinion. Always. So that's an interesting one for me. I don't know what you think about that, but
yeah, I mean, just to add a couple of things. I know we've already talked about it a little bit tonight, because it affected the triple captain conversation earlier on. But again, sort of boring, poor scorn on anything interesting answer, but that's what you'd expect from us. You know, check the turnarounds as well. I think Bowen, you're never worried about. So we've already seen the deadlines: 26th, 30th, a fairly close one in early January, etc. You know, if you had the option to utilise a £125 million striker off the bench for half an hour, or to start one and the other one start one, of course you're going to do that, aren't you? You know, exactly. Like, it doesn't matter how Ekitike could be in the most savage form known to man. He's still not getting more than 75 minutes. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, so unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. You have to accept that. I think the other thing, given your points about Bowen, given the kind of relatively decent fixtures for most of the picks in other positions this week, it just seems like I don't think I can't really see much of an argument for doing it this week. I know that's again a bit of a boring answer, but it just feels like one that you'd rather have that extra week of information, rather know what's happened to Szoboszlai. You know, all of these kind of things will just give you a little bit more information. And then, of course, you've got the option on Bowen when he starts his good fixtures as well. So I think it's definitely one to monitor. And I can see anyone who's gone early, like, no need to regret that move at all. It's an exciting option. He's a terrific player. I mean, just going back actually 2 or 3 years ago, he was linked to West Ham. That's incredible, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, and it's ridiculous, isn't it?
But you're right, because even if what you just said, right, it's a really good point, because that's the biggest box in terms of starting every game because of the congestion and the fixtures. So even if we sort of break those boxes down a little bit, and let's just say just the starts at the moment, that's just one of many boxes that need to be ticked. If in the next 4 or 5 we say that, 5's being generous, but let's say 4 or 5 fixtures, Ekitike isn't going to start one of them. Given that we know, assuming no injuries, given that we know Bowen will start all 5, straight away you'd have to say there really that puts them, even if you're the Ekitike's biggest fan, you'd have to say that puts them pretty much level, at least, even if you're Ekitike's biggest fan, if you think that he doesn't start one of the next 4 or 5 and Bowen starts all of them. But that's just one of the boxes. So even if that happens, which is a pretty good case scenario, you still have to then play good minutes in those games. You still have to then play very well to keep your place in the team. You still have to then actually score the goals, and you're not actually on penalties. Like I'm not saying Bowen is, but you know, you've not got those extra avenues. So even just that one box that you've just mentioned about starting every game should pretty much, unless you think Ekitike is definitely going to start, for example, the next 5, even that one box should put them basically equal, or if not Bowen ahead. I mean, really objectively Bowen ahead, but you know, for anyone, do you know what I'm saying? So yeah. This is what I mean about the minutes thing.
To pick Ekitite over Bowen, for example, if you had the option on both, you almost have to be sure that over the next 5 or 6 fixtures that Ekitite is going to outscore him by 3 or 4 goals. I know that might sound a bit facetious. I'm not just trying to be upset people, but I'm just going to read out the turnarounds for Liverpool here. Okay, so Saturday is the 20th of December. They've got a little bit of time before the next one, so that's good. So 27th of December, then 1st of January, 4th of January, 8th of January, 12th of January. The last one's an FA Cup game. Doesn't sound great, does it? I mean, I'd be pretty shocked, frankly, if he started more than... He's probably going to start 4 of those if his form continues as good as it possibly is. And in each of those, it's going to be 75 minutes ceiling, or is it really? So make your bet by all means. But if you are changing formation, that's another thing, isn't it? So it is quite a tricky call for people.
Yeah,
I'm just going to bring in a couple of comments here as well. Sorry, go ahead, Danny. I'll just
just while you're doing that, that's the point as well. That's fine. So if you're sort of happy with that formation shift, for example, it is a price point. So it's and the fixtures are there. For example, wherever it is, Wolves at home. If you really were confident about making that shift in terms of the structure change, and you want to go to Ekitike in whatever week it is that he's got Wolves 19, whatever it is, 18 or 19. That's still a fine bet. Lots of us have got more transfers now as well, or some people have. So it's still an okay bet. Because then obviously, if it goes wrong, you can switch it to Bowen or to someone else. But it's still quite a big shift, quite a big bet. I just think with all these players, the simple answer in terms of what I was saying was, okay, it's just like I always say, it's not who you own, it's who you don't own, or who do you actually own. Sorry, it's not who you don't own, it's who you own. So, okay, if you don't have Ekitike, then you will have, for example, you might have, let's say, even it's Thiago. So Thiago is still Thiago, where it's still a talisman on penalties with very good fixtures, who has been doing the business. Like his numbers aren't amazing, maybe, but he's got like 5 or 6 non-penalty goals, plus 6 penalty goals or something stupid, 5 or 6 penalty goals. Like just having a couple of bad weeks does not make him a bad pick in any way. In my opinion, because there's a lot of boxes there ticked. Like it's solid, it's very robust. He only has to get a few returns to be a very robust, kind of solid, reliable pick, and then you focus your transfers and your attention elsewhere. Again, even with Thiago, Ekitike has to do quite a lot to be a better pick on paper, in my opinion. And obviously, we're talking about midfielders as well. So if you don't go the Ekitike route, and we'll talk about that, it might be a Cunha, it might be a whoever, other players that are very good picks with very good minutes, that are the same price, that are probably more robust or more stable. Even if you take Cunha for example, Cunha's going to have to do a lot worse to come out of that team because of the options, because of who he is, because of what everything that we know, and the replacements and everything, blah blah blah. There are other picks that there are a lot fewer boxes to tick to remain what they are right now than Ekitike. So I'm just like, yeah, he's amazing, but I don't feel like, because of those alternatives, I don't feel like particularly bothered that I don't have him right now.
No, do you know what? In a weird way, his performances this season so far have been a bit of a throwback for people like you and I, who, let's be honest, this game, for whatever reason, has distracted us from real football sometimes. And he's one of those players that actually, when I watch, I feel like I can appreciate a little bit more in a non-FPL sense, because I'm thinking, Christ, he's amazing. This guy is the quality finisher. He's got swagger. He's brilliant. But at no point have I thought, I need to get him in my FPL team. But it's almost a separate conversation entirely. I'm just going to bring up a couple of things from the chat in just a second. But quick reminder, if for people thinking of moving on Thiago for creating space, and to be fair, this would be a more structurally valid option from my point of view. But he's not only, obviously, he's got Wolves away this week, but in the next 4 after that, 3 home games, is big at home. I think it's just worth remembering Brentford at home is a little bit of a different kettle of fish. Home games against Bournemouth, Spurs and Sunderland in fairly quick succession. You're making a pretty big bet to go against the Swades that have brought him in. But on the other hand, perhaps that gives you a bit of an opportunity. So it's an interesting one. The chat has also mentioned a few other names, by the way. I know that Eno there is quite keen on Wirtz, who's given an upturn in form. Obviously, a midfield position, so maybe a bit easier for some people. And our good friend Gareth, who had a massive score the other week, but has perhaps struggled a little bit in the mini league, to be fair. Ekitite or Bowen? Nah, Ekitite and Bowen. So he doesn't want to listen to boring old fuddy-duddies like you and I. Go ahead, Danny, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, your point about the home games is right, and then but also, I'm looking at Bowen there, aren't I? Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at Bowen. Ignore me. No, I was looking at Wolves away. Ignore me. I was just thinking that as an away game, I like Wolves away because they have to win games. I think they'll go for it a little bit more at home. Wolves away right now is, as we've seen with Man United previously, is an incredible fixture.
I believe actually your good friend, or well, we'll say our good friend because he's a top chap. But Zoff's in the chat actually, and he mentions you can have Ekitite for 18, 19, and then move to Bowen in 20.
Yeah.
Well, with your post wildcard really swish beautiful squad, we don't need to do anything. That sounds like a terrific plan, to be fair.
And that's what I just said, though, isn't it? That's what I just said. There's a price point there if you want to go there.
Yeah,
18, exactly. By the way, it's Wolves away for Thiago this week.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So an incredible fixture there. But yeah, no, I honestly, this is not me. I think Ekitike is a great pick, and that's what said to Zoff when I was speaking to him. I just think it's just loads of people are thinking like tear your team apart for Ekitike or he's amazing, and I don't think it's that simple. I think that we can be much more sort of calm about it, and I think that the minutes thing and the boxes thing is really significant to, in my mind, make a lot of picks. Like, because I'm going to get to 18 or 19, and in my mind at the moment, again, whatever it is, I will be able to get any of those players. That's what I will do. That's pretty much my sort of maneuvering. That's what I'll do. I'll have 2 or 3 transfers. And with those 2 or 3 transfers, if all goes to plan and if things are okay, I'll be able to get any one of Ekitike, for example, Bowen or Cunha. And at the moment, I probably lean Cunha for various reasons. So
yeah,
it's just that Ekitike is just one of a few very good picks, and then in the background is we'll look in 6 to 8 weeks, and it'll be interesting to come back to this because I don't know how much people are saying like Bowen was good. Will it be even remotely surprising to me if Bowen outscores Ekitike and Cunha in the next 6 to 8 weeks? Not at all. No. So
I think I'm just going to warn people away from this scenario as well. I know I've talked about it on the pod before, but there's something about this upcoming time of year. You might have a few days off from work. You suddenly stop. You get a bit ill. You have a few transfers in the bank, and you're bored when you're sitting around with family that you don't really like. Just have a word to yourself. You don't need to use all the transfers. I've been there. I did my Watkins thing last year, and it completely screwed me for weeks to come. So I'm just going to warn you now. You mentioned a name that's really interesting, and I have to say I've got my eye firmly on him. I'm a bit less Ekitite curious, although I love him as a player. But Cunha is listed as one of the options there. I've just sort of packed it together as a sort of midfielder interest section, really. So a couple of our friends here from Son of a Gun and who have been on the pod before as well. So I'll package them together. Is there still value in picking Foden compared to Cherki? So this is someone like Spencer's position where he hasn't got Foden. Poor guy. I can't imagine how much that hurts. Interesting. Actually, Foden's just been subbed on for Bob. So there must be Oscar Bob must have a problem returning from injury. So just keep an eye on that one. Is Semenyo back and worth buying? So that's from Pep Talk. I think you still own Semenyo, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come to that. And then thoughts on Cunha as an FPL option from over on Blue Sky, Paul the Octopus. Not literally. I don't think he's actually an octopus, but we'll see. So 3 really interesting dilemmas related to midfielders. Do you want to start? Just kick us off with Foden, because I mean, obviously he's been someone who you got in early on, and it's worked out incredibly well. Probably made about £1 million now, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't even know what his price is now. I got him at 8 million, so
it must be like 8 or something now. Surely it's going to be enormous. Yeah, he goes
crazy,
up every
right? Crazy, absolutely bonkers.
But if you didn't own, it's quite an interesting one, because I know that Spencer's really keen on. He's been keen on Doku for some time. I think he even went for him on free hit, and that didn't obviously work out against Foden. I might be wrong, so apologies, Spencer. But yeah. It's tricky because I think I replied to him earlier. We've become voice note wankers. You know, he sends me one, I send him one. It's all a bit strange.
Oh, that's nice.
But I think you've kind of gone direct to the source of my brain here. But I kind of replied with the kind of comment of like, well, ultimately, it's we're talking about value or points. Yes, there is a balancing act between the two, but ultimately you're still talking about a player who is maxing on minutes, looking in phenomenal form, etc. And we know that appears to be in this season pretty well trusted. It's quite hard to not just see that evidence and accept that, find the money. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cherki's a great player, but there's just, with Pep and Man City, there is a line, isn't there, that very few players cross, where they go from being a Pep player, that you completely unpredictable minutes, kind of all over the place, a generally unreliable pick, to someone who's got really solid minutes and plays every week. That line in Pep's Man City is extremely high up. It's way different to the line for every other team in the Premier League, isn't it?
Mm.
And I don't know, is anyone at the moment over that line? And I'm putting it there because it's right near the top of where this square is. Is anyone else at Man City over that line other than Haaland or Foden at the moment? That you can. I'm trying to think. I don't think there is. I mean, Rodri would be if he was fully fit like he was 2 years ago. But there's a line where, and that's what I said weeks ago, why I bought Foden, because in my mind he had crossed that line where, okay, I'm looking through a different lens now. I'm looking at a player who I no longer need to think about his minutes, in my opinion, at least in the medium term was the time. So I'm now just looking at what they are as a player and what they offer. Whereas with Cherki, you're nowhere near looking past that most important line. The only important box to tick is, are they going to play every week? He's a fantastic player, but he hasn't, we just don't know how Pep views him. And obviously he got all that telling off for doing the Rabona and this sort of stuff. And we don't know how Pep views him in terms of what he brings to the team. And I don't imagine that's anywhere near as robust. I mean, he started the last two, I think. He started the last two against Sunderland and Palace. And then before that, he got 8 minutes against Fulham. He got 15 minutes against Leeds before that, Leeds at home. So Leeds at home, in a game where you think they're going to play the most, these kind of really creative players, doesn't even play that one. So for me, players like that, the short answer is no, like find a way. That's my approach though, because there's certain players where I want to tick a box that's a huge, big box of a great pick and then think about other stuff. It's just like Bruno. Is there a problem there? No. So get him in and then look elsewhere at other stuff for me. When you bring Cherki in, for me, you're bringing in a problem. You're bringing in a weakness. Yeah, that's a weakness in your team, the way I view it. And it's as a comparison, I just brought in Timber that last week. So I've watched him go up in price a lot, and people saying, is he worth it? Is it this or that? And I don't know what I bought him for, 6.2, 6.3, whatever he is now. I think he went up just before I bought him on. Sorry, just after I bought him on the Saturday. So maybe got him for 0.1 less than what he is now. But it was never a question for me at all. Again, that's just my approach. So Hincapi or whatever wasn't on my menu at all, because I don't like bringing in future problems. Yeah. I like that absolute robustness and then paying the price for that robustness. And that's at least what I think of Timber at the moment. So I don't want to labour that point too much. So I don't know if that answers it adequately. But
I think it does, yeah. And let's be honest, there are not many pleasures for an FPL manager, but other managers going hard on a short-term punt where it doesn't work out and leaving you with more transfers to laugh at them. Maybe that's the small pleasures that we have. No, on a serious note, this week I'm sure it'll feel pretty good. It's a great fixture, good opposition. He's obviously playing from the start tonight, so that would worry me just a touch as well. And I always think, ultimately, if you're immediately thinking, yeah, but if he plays tonight for this many minutes, and that should work out. If you're doing that kind of maths, then broadly, it's not a great situation. Actually, just what's interesting is that this kind of bleeds into the next question, because it's another player who I suppose specifically people were targeting maybe for this week. Is Semenyo back and worth buying? I mean, obviously you never sold, so I'd be quite interested to see your position on this one. I mean, I look at this and think, well, okay, he's a good player that you can probably hold. You never have a huge reason to sell. You can always hold him, of course, because he gets great minutes and he's so important to the team. I think unless you have 4 or 5 and not much to do, I'd still struggle with bringing him in personally. But I get it, because at the moment I still have to play Dubravka. I won't, and I see that as a genuine 5-0. But for some reason, Dubravka and these other fixtures are like, no, we might get away with, getting 2 or 3 points, or maybe even a bit more if I'm lucky. But this one, I look at it and I don't like it at all. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, if you really think it's a 5-0, then it's much more appealing. I mean, it It could well be. No, it could well be. You're right, because Burnley have been particularly bad. I mean, if there isn't a backlash for Burnley in the next fixture, then that would be severely worrying, because obviously we saw them last week where they weren't even running back, they weren't doing the basics, and that if you do that, you've given up. You're just given up, and you can't just give up. It was really bad. So you would. It's not guaranteed, but you would expect a bounce back in the sense of at least actually trying your balls off to actually play in the Premier League. So I don't really know what that looks like. But I mean, just generally, I don't like bringing in players for 1 week, if that's what it is. I mean, you're right, Semenyo doesn't have to be for 1 week, and he's got Brentford after that, which is another good fixture. The good thing with Semenyo and generally Bournemouth players is you view the difficult fixtures differently than you do most players.
Yeah.
Because they've got such a good manager and they've got so much potential. And even Semenyo as an individual, when you've got a player in that sort of team that can score goals against anyone, and then you've got him who's 6'2" and probably 17 stone of pure muscle, like it doesn't matter who you are. If he makes the right run and the right turn and hits it with his laces, it's going in. It's like doesn't matter who you are. So you do feel a bit differently about Semenyo. You feel happy to keep him, but if you're bringing him in and then plan to sell him, well, that's 4 points. I don't care how many transfers you've got. That's 4 points. So he has to do a lot against Burnley. Again, you can see it in your head, as we all do as humans. We see this worst case scenario. If we don't own them, we get really optimistic and we're like, oh my God, yeah, he's going to haul. He's going to get these 2 goals. But obviously, typically that doesn't happen in any game, in any fixture. It doesn't matter what it is. Never mind when you've got someone who isn't on penalties, I don't think, and shouldn't be, or he's not very good at them, and he missed the last one. Doesn't really have routes to points. He's just an open play, big beast. That becomes even less appealing when it's just one fixture and it's not for captaincy. Even if it's bringing in a player for captaincy for 1 week, it's a debate. Lots of things, go into that question. So I've heard a lot of people say they're bringing Semenyo in for 1 week, and I've heard a lot of people say they think bringing Semenyo in for 1 week is absolutely fine. I lean more on the side. I think it's okay. I don't really mind if you want to do it. If you really think he's going to absolutely go berserk, and he is a good pick, but I lean more on the side of I generally wouldn't, because again, there were loads of other good picks that we've probably already got in the team.
I think again, it's another. It's all about context, isn't it? If you're in a situation where I don't know, you kept Mbeumo right until this point, and you've got 5 transfers and you can just move him on for 1 week and then reevaluate after that. That sounds like a great scenario to do it, but there aren't many scenarios in which I could imagine that would be the best way. By the way, right on time, Rayon Cherki has scored an absolute belter apparently. So don't listen to us, Spencer. We're fuddy duddies. But yeah, entirely up to you. Last one, by the way, on this midfielder chat. Thoughts on Cunha? I mean, I've been eyeing him up for a little while because the last 2 or 3 fixtures. I mean, I'll be honest. Okay, so I'm not saying he's played perfectly, but in each of what was it? I think it was the Wolves game, wasn't it? The Bournemouth game, and maybe one other lately. He could have scored 15 or 20 points in some of those games. It didn't exactly match the form, right? It's not been an absolutely tip top, every touch is perfect type thing. But definitely in at least one of those fixtures, it felt like he was going to get pretty big points in FPL terms. So quite interested in this. But the reason I wanted to package it with another thing is that Eno in the chat has asked about how you think Man United will function without Ahmad and Mbeumo, and he's worried about their rhythm. So I just wondered if you could kind of bring that into your answer as well, and your thoughts on Cunha.
Yeah, I probably should have thought about that more before we podded in terms of what United are going to look like. I've sort of been thinking, obviously we've got this week to watch them and stuff, and it's very difficult to say because obviously he's been so sort of rigid about his opinions on the formation and what that would look like. I mean, the general, for me, I've been less significant to me at the moment than what I'm seeing generally from Man United. So what I'm seeing generally is more important in the sense that we've kind of looked like the better team in most games. You know what I mean? Like at the moment, and there seems to be a pretty feel good. Things are ticking a bit more. Yeah, we're conceding goals and we're not great defensively, but scoring goals is the hardest thing. And we seem to be well up for it. The players are playing for the manager. It all looks pretty good at the moment, doesn't it? That's more important to me, really. Generally, that is more important generally than what a team looks like in terms of formation, and then being really badly disrupted by that. You know what I mean? That's the important point. If that makes sense. So I think the general attitude at the club and what I'm seeing is the biggest positive and bigger than worrying about the formation. But yeah, with Cunha, like I want to say that it's bubbling. It's bubbling a little bit in this, similar to what I was sort of saying about Foden weeks ago, is that you felt like it was bubbling, but it's bubbling in a very different way. Like Foden was sort of bubbling in sort of like he's in a very sensible, objective mode, and he's playing these very good passes, playing very well, making good decisions, and just needed to add the goal scoring element to it, a little bit more of a sort of positional element. Whereas Cunha is bubbling in the sense that he has to calm down a bit. He's been trying so hard that he's been trying too hard to score, and that's sort of been leading to some bad decisions, and that's kind of still happening, although it's getting better. Like, because he is basically, he's a god. Cunha is a different. This guy's a different ball game in terms of his level of skill and ability. Like when you see him, some of the things that he did, even last week and the week before, his touches and his ability to keep the ball in a space where he's got 3 men on him, where it doesn't look like it's possible, and it doesn't even. It's not that he even necessarily has to do something that skillful. It's that every little mini decision and touch and the weight of everything is spot on, because he's playing a different game. Cunha, he's an absolutely ridiculous player, but he also kind of knows that so much that he sort of thinks that he can change everything. You know, he thinks he can bend it to his will, and therefore he sort of. You know, I mean, one of the shots he had on Monday was really bad decision. It was a really bad decision. I think it was 4-4 at the time, or 3-3 at the time, or something like that. And he hit this shot where his positioning was wrong, and he was never going to get any weight behind the shot. There were players in the box, and that was just an example of just calm down and try to think. Like you don't have to try and score every second. You've got time. You know, wait for a better opportunity to come. This time, the better thing to do is play it to a teammate. I do feel like that's getting a little bit better. But that's what's happening at the moment. It's still those decisions a little bit, because it's hard to. I'm looking at these stats. There's a scout did the goals imminent table on one of the articles earlier, and I thought because I was obviously quite interested because Cunha's at the top, and there's some of the stats. So I don't know if you saw it, but it's just stats over the last 4 game weeks. And in terms of number of attempts, that kind of reflects what I'm saying. Because I mean, his non-pen XG is good. It's good. It's very good, because it has accumulated. It's 2.1 over 4. But he's had 19 shots.
Wow.
I think to be honest though, I think he's had 16 in the last 2. He had 8 in the week before last. I think he might have had 16 in the last 2 or something ridiculous like that. 13 shots in the box, but only 5 on target. 3 big chances. So I don't know, like. I think enough of the sort of important boxes are ticked in the minutes. I've still got this little bit of, you didn't do the same as me, did you, in game week 2 or 3, whatever it was, where I captained him against Burnley. So when you go off injured after 30 minutes with a hamstring, I need to get rid of that out of my head a little bit, because I'm like, how robust is this guy?
That's interesting.
That hurt me, and I've still got, I'm probably a little bit biased still in terms of like, is this guy robust? Like, as his minutes improve, is he just going to be okay? I don't want someone who might get injured, but we haven't got enough evidence to suggest that he will get injured, so I need to get rid of that. But it's still niggling. But yeah, in terms of first choice, the minutes are going to go up. They're going to get even better. He's a ridiculous player, and it is an important point though. What does it look like in the new formation? Because he's not got Bumo there, who's been very good at stretching the defence and being that extra person, and obviously Ahmad on that whole right hand side. But for me, I just think there's enough there in terms of the quality of the player, the minutes, the passion, the attitude, the getting the shots off, the godlike ability, playing with Bruno Fernandes, and the fixtures. That I do like it. What about you?
No, I like it as well. I think it does mean probably same as quite a few other people. It does
changing
mean
the bulb.
Yeah, it does mean changing the bulb. But it does mean a little bit of a shift for a couple of other positions in my case, because I think for you, Semenyo to Cunha is presumably something you can eye up. No,
I'll need a shift in another position as well, still, to get the money, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, it's similar.
2 transfers still.
2 transfers. Yeah. So for me, for whatever reason, for better or worse, sorry, I've sort of pushed myself into a scenario where I've got a couple of cheap mids and quite a relatively strong back line, so it would be easier in a way to keep money there for this sort of little period of time. But I would rather turn one of those cheap mids into something a bit more substantial. So yeah, Cunha would be the obvious one in that situation. Definitely interested. I think this week is a really good opportunity, isn't it? Because to give a little bit of a watching brief to see for potential new buyers anyway, to see how they're going to set up. I mean, what would be your expectation? Would it be that because Sesko's returning, isn't he? Isn't he returning from injury? I might be wrong.
Yeah, he came on, didn't he, on the weekend?
He came on.
Sort of got an assist-ish for Cunha, and you'd think he's got to be given his chance. And obviously we've got Mason Mount, who's playing well, and he's in favour anyway. And he did bring Mainu on for Casemiro. By the way, that's so frustrating every single week that Casemiro just gets booked on like the 58th minute every single week, and so he just doesn't trust him to not get the second booking. And he brings him off after 60 minutes, and he's like one of our most important players. Casemiro's fuming when he came off, by the way, which is interesting, which shows that he can last because he was not happy. He was well, but that keeps happening over and over again. But he did bring Mainu on, which that does say something. That says a lot. The game was needed there to be win. So, yeah, I haven't really thought about it. So I need to think more. Obviously, Cunha's either going to be up top or on the right, on the wings kind of thing. But again, is it a 4-3-3? Or he has explicitly said that he was thinking about experimenting with a 4-3-3, but we haven't seen him actually do that. So the big question is, does he actually do that? Does he just stay with the same formation, or does he change and go with, I don't know, a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or whatever you want to call it? So, because he could even be in a 10, but I doubt it. I mean, he could. So if he put Mainu in the middle with or Ugarte or something like that, and puts Bruno in the 10 in a different formation,
True.
Or does he keep Bruno in the middle with Casemiro and then put like does Cunha go in the 10 or on the right? So I don't know. But
well, do you know what? I mean, if anything, this conversation, unintentionally, this just makes me even more definite about triple captaining Haaland, because I mean, I hear that for the next a little bit of uncertainty of positions for Manchester United, and it makes me a little bit more wary of holding out for any kind of Bruno captain situation. There's just a note here about suspended. I'm assuming Nikolai in the chat is talking about Casemiro. Suspended.
Is he?
Right?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, no, I knew that. Yeah,
right. Okay, I wasn't sure because I thought
really
it can't be Cunha. Yeah.
So that's a big loss for us as well. Yeah, I forgot about it. So 5 yellows, isn't it? I think so. That's a big loss for us. But
it's another one where I was like, maybe just give it another week. So I apologise, everyone. I know you had your splurge last week. This week you can sit on your hands and wait. Sorry, it's just gonna if you want to. Sorry, just gonna have to stop. You're gonna have to wait. But we're going to look at another player that's quite interesting. Yeah, Semenyo is on 4 yellow cards. Thank you, Gareth. He's another one. So that it makes it a bit harder to bring him in as opposed to keeping him. FPL Clark has asked, would you move on picks like Virgil, Van Dijk? We did. I don't know. I can't remember what we agreed on how to pronounce this. Ciao. Oh, Italian.
Ciao Bella.
Ciao or Lacroix in order to get O'Reilly. So it's some people making room. I mean, just to give you some advance on this, FPL Clark, I don't know whether it's wise or not. I don't know, but O'Reilly came in for me for Rodon last week to sort of have a fairly beefy back line. I'm happy he's there for sure, but would you move on any of those players to get him? It is the money. I mean, in theory, it's the money fixture this week, aren't there? There's good numbers for City in the projections, attacking and defence. So you haven't got. Are you tempted to bring him in? I can't remember what your situation was there, because I know you're quite keen on the player.
I don't own him at the moment, but let's wait till we get to the my team, and we'll see if you can predict. Like you can predict moves.
Sexy.
But I mean, the question of him playing tonight is relevant to this now as well, isn't it? I mean, what other options have they got there at the moment? I'm just trying to think, because has Ran gone now to AFCON? Like, what could happen this weekend? I'm trying to think, because you said anyway.
I think he has gone, yeah. Just going to check, but I wasn't sure if he might be in the squad. No,
I mean,
he's
what
not.
we
He's
want to
already gone, yeah.
We want to see O'Reilly come off really tonight, don't we? At like 60 minutes or so. It's still 0-0 at the moment.
I mean, given that they got Vardio on the bench, Nunes on the bench, Ruben Dias, there's definitely things they can do. Yeah, 1-0. It's about to be half time.
Yeah, so we I mean, God, it's going to be a bit of a decision if he plays the full 90. I mean, I'm not one of them. I think it's these sort of things are overplayed. I'm not one of them that thinks like he needs to be rested. He's a young guy and stuff. But it is tonight's Wednesday and it's 3:00 Saturday, so it is like a relatively short turnaround. And sometimes
it's belting down with the rain, if that makes any difference.
Yeah, and if you're playing, I mean, why? I don't know yet, but why is he playing him tonight when he's resting everyone else? Like, what's the reason for that? Let's just put that to one side for a second and sort of assume that he's just going to play and whatever. So some short answers is I wouldn't sell Van Dijk for him. That's just because I just like Van Dijk at the moment. I like the fact that nobody really owns him, that he's very low owned. People aren't going to want to go there. I think Liverpool are in a back to basics approach. I know Brighton had chances and their XG and stuff was good, but to be honest, it wasn't like when I watching the highlights back, unless it didn't show a lot of the chances, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. There was a couple of little chances here and there, but I think they're doing pretty good. They obviously had a couple of decent chances, I know, but it wasn't like a oh my god to me, like how didn't they score? And Brighton a very good attack, by the way, but it's just a back to the basics with Liverpool at the moment, which I like. And as I say, so it's just appealing to me personally because obviously they've got Spurs, then they've got Wolves at home, as good as you can get. Then you've got Leeds at home, which is pretty good, especially the way they played against them last time for 70 minutes. And then Fulham away is good. And then obviously you've got Arsenal away when you can hopefully bench him. And then you've got Burnley at home. So to me, I just see at least 3 fixtures there where I've got a player who defcons, who I think a really good pick, goal threat, defender, clean sheets, and nobody really owns him. So it's too much for me that. Lacroix is interesting. And Palace in general. I think it's going to be important who they play tomorrow. I really don't know what's going on with Palace in terms of what they're going to do in terms of priorities, because they've got what is it? They've got something ridiculous, don't they? They play Thursday, Sunday, and then is it Tuesday in the cup or something stupid? Is it a day in between?
Yeah. They play early next week, don't they? Yeah. That's next Tuesday. Yeah, next Tuesday.
So that's Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday. So, but I don't know. I don't think they've not guaranteed anything in Europe yet. I don't believe they're not top 8 in their group or whatever. I need to look into that. But I've just been waiting to see what the team would be tomorrow. And then they've got Leeds away on Saturday, and you'd think that should be a priority in terms of the league, but we never really know. He just seems to be playing everyone every game. But then they've got the cup on Tuesday, and if they can win the cup, he's a cup-winning manager. So I can't see them, rotating too much in the cup. So I don't know what's going on. But basically, in my mind, I'm thinking if they do go pretty full strength against Leeds, then that's a very good fixture. If we see a lot of teams players rested tomorrow, the difficult thing with Lacroix is probably the only player who typically won't get rested or wouldn't get rested or shouldn't. It doesn't need to be. I don't know. But I think if they're going with a rested team tomorrow and then they're going into Leeds, I really like Leeds as a fixture for them, because that looks like they're going to play a strong team against Leeds. And the thing about Palace is just, and I know we all know this, but it's reminding ourselves is like they are ludicrous defense when they're fit. I know they've had a lot of time, they've had a lot of kind of fixture congestion and they've looked tired at the end of games sometimes, and that's cost them goals. But if that isn't happening, or if they get periods where they can rest or rotate, they can get a few days rest, they are a ridiculous defense because it's just so well drilled. I always just imagine as a player, like, you think playing against 2 centre-backs is difficult, 2 good centre-backs. Well, playing against Richards, Lacroix and Gahey, a 3 that are perfectly positioned, with a 5 at the back with Henderson. I know I've said it loads of times, but it's just like, it's so good. It's so hard to get through that. You imagine even Leeds, even Calvert-Lewin, who can be very good and on his own, but anyone. It's so difficult to get through that. So, and the thing is with Palace, for me, is they've then got Spurs at home, which for them, for the matchup, again, looks an incredible fixture for a clean sheet. A team that's struggling to score goals or doesn't really know how they go about scoring goals at the moment, like Spurs. How are you getting past that defence? That's going to be difficult. Ridiculous defender picks. Then they've got Fulham at home. So Spurs at home, Fulham at home, for Palace is pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. So this is what, because I've got Lacroix. So I've gave quite a bit of thought to this on Saturday about Palace and what that looks like. And it's exposure, isn't it, as well? When you think, when's the right time to come off Palace or take them on? A lot of people have got double Palace defence. Loads of people have got Palace. I mean, the damage that they've done. I mean, Munoz is injured, but Gay, 35 or more % effective ownership. Richards, Lacroix. Is Leeds, Spurs at home, Fulham at home a time to take on Palace defence? When, again, we're just in this period of just momentarily forgetting what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a team and a defence that's close to Arsenal levels in terms of a defence. It's a ridiculous, it's not Arsenal levels defence, but it's a ridiculously good defence.
Yeah. What's interesting, by the way, is that, throughout this, I mean, I still don't have any Palace defence and probably won't be able to deal with that anytime soon, I should imagine. It doesn't seem likely. So it's quite an interesting time for non-owners because there's not really enough to necessarily bring one in, but at the same time, getting rid of one feels like the wrong move as well. For what it's worth, for FPL Clark, out of the three that you've mentioned there, I'd be the most tempted to get rid of Chow. Yeah, my reasoning is okay. So yes, they have some immediate, a couple of not great fixtures. First of all, so, I mean, if you really want to start picking it apart, but I think they got Chelsea next. They might have. I'm going to say Man United afterwards, but I'm not sure. There's a I'm sure it's a Manchester team. We'll have to look that up. But there's the next couple are not great, and then they go on a really nice little run, so that's fair enough. But they obviously got quite a few injuries in that back line. The goalkeeper situation is still unclear. So if I was really hot on O'Reilly and I wanted the entry point, I think I'd go Tiao. And I'm not saying it's an absolute watertight. There's no need to do it. If you've only got one or two moves, maybe don't bother. But that would be the one I was going for if I had something like 4 transfers and I really wanted O'Reilly. That would be where I would go. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly the same. Chow, I'd have no real problem going there if I felt really good about O'Reilly. Caveating this whole thing tonight that we're trying to figure out. And I think Newcastle's next 2. What is it, like Chelsea and then someone else? Like the next 2 aren't great, I don't think, from memory.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about because there aren't much to choose from here, but it's about where a team is and kind of momentum. So they've got Chelsea and they've got United away, so it's not good. Then they've got Burnley, which is obviously good. Then they've got some good fixtures, but it's nice when you've got a cushion of 2 fixtures that make a lot of sense. But it's just about where teams are at. So what we've got is Chow and Newcastle are not in a great moment. I mean, they didn't even turn up against Sunderland really, but he is a very good player. Van Dijk, as I say, they're in a moment for me where that would be my prediction is they're going to improve. They're going to especially improve defensively, go back to basics, really good fixtures. And then Lacroix is the fact that he and Palace are brilliant, but they do still have the fixture congestion. So yeah, I would, out of those 3, it would be Virgil and then Lacroix and then Chow.
So, I mean, they're playing Lewis Miley at right back tonight.
Yeah. But like I say, it's all that about Lacroix. Having said this weekend again, based on the whole congestion thing and the cup, you probably do expect them to concede at Leeds, although they're still very, very good. It's just those following 2 fixtures. But also to answer the question in short is, generally speaking, I think O'Reilly is someone you should buy.
Yeah. I mean, this obviously a bit of Tiao chat there lends ourselves to another quick update on on Nick Pope Corner, as it's become a regular feature on this pod. This week, Donny asking the question on my behalf. But no, he must be in a similar situation. I'm just going to say where I am at with this, because there aren't many of us left, us early, sorry, not us early Nick Pope adopters, because that would be the wrong thing to say. But I'm not sure I can cope with this anymore. Just trying to scour around for the worst quality updates in the Premier League. So Newcastle, I mean, generally don't have a problem with you, but when it comes to injury updates and all of this kind of stuff, you guys suck. And
you can always rely on MUFC Will.
Don't start that. Yes, yeah. There's just not a lot of good information there. My situation is this: if I see a happy Nick Pope on the training grass, and the manager and others say, "Yep, absolutely, he's going to be back in goal at the weekend," then I will. There's a reasonable chance I would still hang on to it, but I think short of that, and I don't think I'm going to get that. I just can't cope anymore. I'm just going to be moving him on this week, and I'll probably just go to Bob, because I know where I sit with. Weirdly enough to say this, I know where I sit with Bob Sanchez. I've lost a ton of points by not just going there straight away already, but I'm looking more at the kind of the medium to long term here. Chelsea have a lovely run of fixtures in the 20s anyway. Newcastle have some good ones too, but it just feels like I'm saving a couple of quid as well. 0.2. Good defence to invest in. They've been a bit lucky to get so many clean sheets lately, to be fair. But whenever they are lucky, Sanchez, that's when he sort of bags a couple of bonus points as well. So I don't really think I can go too far wrong just going Bob out of this and just forgetting it and moving on, because it's costing too much energy for me to distract myself. Because you know what? I don't know whether you don't do this as much as I do, but sometimes I distract myself with a conversation that's so pointless, like which 4.4 midfielder or which goalkeeper, etc., that I forget about the exciting things, like an £8 million midfielder that I should be chasing. So it's more just to make me focus on the good stuff again, really. So unless I see really good signs, I can't be done with this anymore. I'm moving on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, you have wasted too much. You have wasted too much thought time on goalkeeper. Pretty much 3 game weeks of information have been wasted in your head on goalkeeper, which you haven't even made the transfer on.
Yeah, exactly. So for what it's worth, I only didn't do that move, the Bob move, last week, because I think I gradually started to, I think I'd narrowed it down to 3 at night. And Martinez, do you remember, he got injured anyway, so he didn't play. And Villa look so much worse when Martinez isn't around. It's incredible.
I know.
I think when Bezos played, he's conceded 3s and 4s. And Martinez has conceded 9 and 12. It's incredible the amount of difference it makes for them.
The FML boys were saying they just can't believe that Bezos is in the team. He's just the worst goalkeeper on planet Earth.
Incredible. So him, there was a little bit of love for Pickford, wasn't there, in our conversation the other week? But I think Bob would have been the one. But there was an update kind of 24 hours before the game, which was to say he has a chance of being back for the next one. Dubravka had his okay game against Fulham, which obviously didn't pan out too well. But I think this week as well, like I said, Burnley have got a horrendous game at Bournemouth. I don't like that at all. It just feels like I'd be giving away points for the sake of it. So don't expect Bob to keep it clean this week. But I don't know. And no, that suggestion in the chat, Areola, absolutely not. He's got 1 clean sheet this year.
Wissa's just scored.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. What's happening to him with AFCON then? Is he not?
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember actually, because there was something there. He was going and then he wasn't going. And he must be going. I don't know. He wasn't. He didn't. Yeah, didn't he get ruled out of it or something? But now he's playing tonight, so he can't be ruled out of it.
I'm sure he's the Congo player, isn't he? Chat, we'd love to find this out here. Is he not going to AFCON? I thought anyway. But he's maybe he's sticking with them, or maybe he's got an extra couple of days or something. For anyone else shouting out other goalkeepers, I'm sticking my fingers in my ears here. To be honest, Wisser isn't going. He chose to withdraw, apparently, by the way. But Allison, no, I'm not. No, just no. Let's move on to the fixtures, and then we're gonna. I think actually we given that we were knocking about for half an hour before this, we should get straight to the teams in a second. So just a very quick reminder of the interesting fixtures this week. Some people will still be on. I saw someone in the chat wildcarding, and other people still free hitting and that sort of thing. So the money fixtures, so to speak, City, West Ham, 2.88 goals projected for City, West Ham 0.89. I think that's probably about fair. I think it wouldn't be surprised either way if West Ham scored or didn't really. A lot of close fixtures actually. Newcastle, Chelsea, very close there. Not much in that. Tottenham, Liverpool again doesn't stand out particularly. If Palace, Leeds, lots of them are fairly close really this week. There's a few dilemmas to throw up, but I think that will come with our teams in just a second. Anything you wanted to pull out before we go to our teams?
Just trying to think. Not really. I mean, that's big for Bournemouth, isn't it? You can look at it like that.
Yeah, obviously 2 goals.
So yeah, no, I don't think so. I think we should. Other people have probably not so sure about that Villa Man United though. I must say.
Yep. So for those listening, 1.66 for Villa, 1.34. Sorry, I should just say this is the Rob T Solio.
Yeah, it looks nice and clear as well on the screen. Have we upgraded there or something, or is it just me? It looks nice and crisp.
No, but I will take your compliment. Yeah.
No, unless there's anything you want to talk about on those fixtures, I think it's.
Let's go to our team.
This is a fixture for Brentford. This is a big test, isn't it, in terms of what we think about those picks? Wolves away is the fixture, so
yeah. Because so far, there hasn't been an onus on Brentford to take the games to teams particularly and succeed, and obviously they didn't do that against Leeds. So it's quite interesting to see what they do. But let's have a look at teams here. It's me first. Okay, so yeah, basically the only debate that I want to try and resolve is over the 4th defender. So Van Dijk and Anderson, who are, for what it's worth, if anyone's listening, who wants the kind of model information, they're pretty much tied in terms of an expectation of points in that fixture. So that's something to think about. I need to read out the team, don't I? But yeah, triple captain is the thing that you'll notice here. So anyway, the team, Pope in goal against Chelsea at home, that will most likely be changed to Bob, who will be in the same fixture but away. So technically, you could argue that's worse. Van Dijk, Timber, O'Reilly and Senesi, who is very likely on his last game in the team. Minte, Foden, Fernandes and Saka in midfield with Thiago, and triple captain Haaland up front with Dubravka, Joe Jim and Anderson, followed by his brother Elliot on the bench, and Mark Gui there. So the last two are 4.
4 transfers.
Yeah, no, I don't do anything unless I've got at least 4. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. So you haven't got Semenyo, have you? That's interesting. So
no. There's not much I can do about that one, as you know. Well, I can easily. Yeah.
How do you feel about Minter at the moment? He's gone down in price a couple of times as well, hasn't he?
Oh, little swine. Well, I bought him at 5.9 really early, so in a way, it doesn't make too much odds. I've still got a penny on him, I think, but yeah, it's not terrific. How do I feel about him? There's a reasonable chance he goes next week. If not, then I'll be playing 5 at the back next week. So, which to be fair is fine, as you can see. It'll be Virgil will have a good game. Timber, well, they all have good games next week. In fact, Anderson's the weakest at West Ham. And to be fair, I expect Fulham to concede. So, yeah. But yeah, okay. Any thoughts? I think it's just the goalkeeper transfer for me, and then it's just the dilemma of Anderson versus Van Dijk. I know you have the same decision. I suppose if you'd asked me before I saw Fulham look pretty shoddy in last week's fixture, I'd have been pretty happy playing Anderson over Virgil. So I don't know about that one. That's probably the one that I will think about the most there.
Yeah, I'm not going to play him. We'll talk about it when we get. I don't think so at the moment. We'll talk about it when we get to my team. So are you going to get Sanchez? Are you pretty set on that now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like I say, I would need to see very positive evidence on, like, not words, not hearsay. I need to see something physically for me to keep Pope, because I don't think I can. And I think Sanchez just makes the most sense long term. So I know that there are better keepers this week and next week and that sort of thing. But I think
Price as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
If Pickford was less, someone like Pickford, you might, or Martinez, if they were less, you'd maybe go there. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the injuries, given that Martinez has now missed 4 games this season at different times, I don't think I can go there now.
It's just so weird with Chelsea, isn't it? Because they have been. I mean, I'm just thinking of Zoff again, because every time, because he's a Chelsea fan and he just laughs at the jam of Chelsea clean sheets every week. And I think he sold Sanchez a few weeks ago, and it just seemed to. I mean, their clean sheet was more jammy than Liverpool's, I thought, last weekend when I saw the highlights and the chances that Everton had. So I don't know how they keep doing it, but they do, and they've got defenders. But I mean, Fofana back is good, isn't it? That's got to be good for Chelsea defence, and always obviously James and Kukurea. They've just got some and Chalobah, and they've not had Caicedo, have they, for the last few weeks? And he's back now, presumably.
Do you know what? Yeah, no, I was going to say that was actually the major reason why, because there would be a temptation to mentally think, do you know what, I've committed to this now, I should just wait for Pope to be back, blah blah blah. But the Caicedo being back is probably the sort of straw that breaks the camel's back, or whatever you want to call it. But something you said last week, by the way, which has persuaded me to be a bit more like, I can't piss around with this anymore, I've just got to get on with it, is putting it away. You said about there are some decisions in your squad, and goalkeeper is often one of them. I like to make that spot decided and then just put it away for a while. I think out of all of the goalkeepers that I could pick, Sanchez is the most I can put this away now. And it's also a little bit of protection for when I get round to those Chelsea fixtures and other people maybe have a bit more, knocking about. Maybe they get Chalobah or something like that, which is perfectly viable.
Yeah, and I think just on that, because we know, again, especially from this point of season, in terms of information, we know that there isn't usually a huge or even big at all difference in terms of total points at the end of the season for a lot of keepers. And we're at a point now where we can group together the likes of Sanchez, Pickford, Martinez, whatever, and Raya, if you like. Certainly there's a certain group where you can be fair, you can be pretty confident there's not going to be much between those guys. And that's why value, I think the price is significant with goalkeepers, more so than anywhere. And it's not just because of the value of the player, but it's because of what you said in terms of not wanting to look back at a transfer there, because there's going to be times in the season, or for the next 15 weeks or whatever it is before you wildcard next, that you might ask yourself, oh, I don't have that, or if I just had that extra 0.5, or where can I get this extra value? And it's really nice when you've got a goalkeeper who, I think, by the way, I don't know what Sanchez's price is. Last time I looked, it was about 4.8 or something. I don't know what it is now, but that's a decent
4.9.
4.9. Okay, so just about decent enough where you're getting that value, where you're maximising the value in your squad for ultimately a position that isn't going to dictate that many points. So I do like that. I like that in terms of just leaving him there.
Yeah, I think the other thing, by the way, is that his price only ever went down below 5 because, do you remember the red card at Man United? And I'm not saying one should make an exception of, like, I'll remove the red card from your thinking, because obviously it doesn't work like that. But that is the kind of major blot on his copybook. Obviously, did he miss a game in the league? I assume he did, but it could have been a cup game as well. But and the minus points for the red card and all that sort of thing. So it probably looks even. I can't imagine his price would have fallen. I think a lot of more people would own him and all that kind of rest of it. So there is that factor as well. But I quite like it. I know a few people in the chat mentioning other people. I mean, our league leader talking about Areola. Again, I can't suggest that.
Yeah, I do struggle with these really cheap keepers. I mean, some other people don't. I mean, because they're thinking, like, I know, like I said last week, a lot of the guys are on for Bruggen, and I don't, because I can't see it or feel it. It just doesn't really appeal to me. But I need to sort of make more of the cheap keepers. I'm thinking of someone like Fabio. Fabio always identifies as a cheap keeper pretty early and just moves on them and leaves them there. And of course, that's probably based in kind of the thing that I'm just saying, that is it really that meaningful other than the value? I mean, the value is so meaningful in terms of the goalkeepers, in terms of saving that extra money. Does it really mean all that much in terms of points at the end? Probably not. And that's probably what Fabio, for example, is doing in terms of points per million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but anyway, to tell us, I don't know where I was just searching for someone's fixtures, and I don't know what we were just talking about then. But tell us a little bit about your rough plans next week and whatever. Like, what?
Next week, yeah.
What's in your
I'll
head?
be honest with you, I haven't really dwelt on it greatly this week. I did more last week when we had the kind of plethora of transfers. I think in my situation is interesting because obviously there's no cheap defender anymore, so that's it is a bit of a weakness of this squad that in order to get like a nice upgrade on a midfielder like a Cunha, for example, I might even need to do 3 moves because I'd need to take Minte up. I'd probably need to take Elliot Anderson right down, and then I'd probably need to get some money out of somewhere else. So it would be quite an upheaval. I guess Senesi is probably the guy, isn't he, as well? So between them, you could probably reach it. The easiest thing to do would be to continue playing 4 or 5 at the back and bringing in someone like a Tarkowski, whatever. Because the Everton fixtures next week take a nice turn, and he's just a nice long-term lock. So it's probably going to be one of those 2 routes, I think. It's just, one takes more transfers, but that's fine if that's what I want to do long term. I don't think I can stomach playing Anderson and Minte for much longer. One in an occasional good fixture is fine, but I think I'm quite happy to change that up.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Okay. No, no, I agree. I think because it's similar to my team. So should we go to my team because it's going to be similar?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Because remind me to talk about Everton as well in terms of Keane and Tarkowski and that sort of option. So at the moment it's Raya in goal. It's Anderson, Timber, Lacroix, Senesi, Bruno, Semenyo, Foden, Saka, Thiago, Haaland, then Big Verge first sub at the moment, and Dewsbury Hall and Guiu. So I've got 3 free transfers, and what do you think I'm going to
do? I mean, I have to say, objectively, it looks very rollable to me. Yeah. That said, if you were going to do anything,
I've got 0.1.
Have you? Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of things you could do. Really, basically, I think the only player that it's probably worth pulling up any trees for to rearrange anything this week is possibly, is probably O'Reilly if you're happy with the minutes tonight and that sort of thing. And to make the money, I would suggest you are fairly convinced that Dewsbury Hall was out for longer than people expect. Rip him down to a cheap mid and bump up Anderson no, maybe not, because of course Senesi's not good after next week. Something along those lines, though. Probably taking them a little bit of money out of him.
Yeah, pretty much. As I say,
only assuming the problem is you want him, don't you? If he's fit, but of course it doesn't sound like it's going to happen, does it?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I also want O'Reilly, and I also did want O'Reilly and wanted him for a while, and kind of there was an element of with KD injury. It was obviously it's a pain in the ass because it's 2 transfers, but I was still thinking, well, at least now there's going to be a way to get O'Reilly in because I didn't want to be going into West Ham at home.
No.
Because I was 0.1 off some moves like Lacroix and stuff. But yeah, having looked at it a lot, I'm less keen to get rid of Lacroix now. And as I say, like with Anderson, I know it's a decent fixture on paper in the DEFCONs, and he is a great value pick, and the models will like him this week and for the next couple of weeks. But they've not looked great defensively, and so I'm not happy about that as a pick. And I'm not even wild about him as a sort of first bench option if I've got a very thin bench. I mean, it's fine. It is fine. Don't get me wrong, he's a good pick, but I just don't think they're going to clean. And obviously, they're losing at least Bassi and Iwobi in terms of significant players.
Yes.
And that's really pretty significant. You know, that's the kind of midfield controller and a centre back. So it's wanting O'Reilly, and it's looking at future plans and sort of and thinking, and who do I not want to get rid of, and what does it look like in terms of a squad. So basically, if I did that move, so that's what I wanted. That is what I want to do. Ideally, I want to sell Anderson for O'Reilly, but now I'm going to have to look hard into Man City sort of fixtures and the predictions and the lineup and stuff. But ideally, I wanted to do Anderson to O'Reilly. Now, one of the problems is I can't even get a 4.4 for Dewsbury Hall.
Oh, it needs to be 4-3.
So it needs to be 4-3. So obviously that's fully suboptimal, and reviews models wouldn't like it, but I'm okay doing with that. I mean, I don't like it over Christmas. It's not ideal but I mean, a couple of things. So first of all, again, just thinking about my squad in general, my squad always leans towards robustness on paper. I've not got players, I've not got a lot of iffy players, or any really iffy players theoretically. That where the minutes would be so bad that I might go down to second sub, because if I did that sort of move, you're talking about basically a really good 11 and a really good first sub.
Yep.
So it's very strong 12 with robust players that play in the 11, and it's sort of like it's you still have to acknowledge that you may go second sub deep over Christmas, but then it's is that enough? So say I just assume that I get maybe 1 point off the bench as a second sub, which I'll talk about in a second. So if I've got like Devaney or something plus Guiu, those players typically between them, one of them comes on each week for a 1-pointer. So I mean, we're talking about a 1 point here because we're talking about the difference between, let's just say if I went 4.4, it would be Potts.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he plays every week. So don't get me wrong, that's fine. That's 2 points, or it's 4 if he gets DEFCON. It's not much more than a 2-point average. He's not really going to do much more than that. Typically, that's what you have to expect. So if you go in second sub deep, you're talking about the difference between getting a 1 point or a 2 to 3 points, which is not big at all. So then the question is it enough that you think you're getting in? There's enough of a difference in terms of the players that you do have in the 12. Is there enough of a difference between, for example, Anderson and Lacroix? And for me, I think there is. Is there enough difference between, whatever it is, having a Cunha or not? Having enough money for a Cunha, for example, or that 8 million spot versus not, then the answer for me is typically yes, that is enough to basically have 2 non-playing players on my bench. And again, it's in the context of all the players I've got typically are robust for minutes, so I shouldn't, fingers crossed, be going second sub deep. So yeah, it would be a 4.3, unfortunately, if I go that route. So it would be Dewsbury Hall to a 4.3, Anderson to O'Reilly. And now I'm worried. And then that would mean benching Verge this week, but which I'm not wild about, because Spurs have been crap, and it's back to basics Liverpool, and I would play him as well if I was in your position.
Yeah,
but it is still, Spurs are at home, and Liverpool definitely give up chances. So I'll just have to kind of personally hope that they do concede if I do go that route. But then again, it depends, because I could play Verge over Lacroix still if I think that Palace, if I'm worried about minutes weekend. So depending on what they play on Thursday and what they're going to play on Tuesday and what I think that's going to look like. I want a fresh Palace against Leeds. I want a full strength fresh Palace, and if it's not, it's probably Lacroix that I should bench, because it Leeds away on a Saturday night is not easy. They need to be fresh, and if they are fresh, it's a very good fixture. But then I get to keep him for Spurs and Fulham at home. So it's quite a nice rotation in terms of defenders where you're never too bothered about it. So then it also works quite nicely for me, I think, there. If I do that, again, I'm looking at the following week. Obviously, Senesi goes to first bench. And I'd have, if I do that, I'd roll back to 2 transfers. I don't necessarily need to make a transfer there with Semenyo, Senesi. They've got Brentford away. Senesi will be on the bench. I think United have got Newcastle at home. It's another week to look at what that position looks like. I don't mind playing Semenyo another week, theoretically. And then you go to 3 transfers, and I've got no money in the bank. And then a Senesi could become someone like a Mukiele, someone who I think is actually really solid, but only like 4.2.
I was going to say about because actually one of the things a lot surprisingly rests next week. There's a couple of different avenues, and you might explore this as well. But a Sunderland cheapie actually fixes is quite useful for a number of issues from next week on. They've got an improved run of fixtures. You can certainly play them in 18 from memory. They've got Leeds at home, yeah. So it's quite nice. I think Alderete's right down to maybe even 4-4-1 again. Mukiele is still at a good price, blah, 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 blah. So there's that. I'm going to say something, by the way. Two things, really. One is irrelevant, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. You've been slightly hampered here by the order of people's good fixtures, haven't you? Because obviously Senesi, you're going to probably move on anyway, and it's unfortunate that you have to hold him for this nice fixture and that sort of thing. But what I was going to say is, okay, tell me I'm a prick. It's fine. Is there any temptation in your situation to free up the rare funds?
Yeah, that's been in the back of my mind in terms of where and when and if I want to, but it's just I don't think it's enough this week. Like I don't need to. Like you're right in what you say, but actually you can look at it negatively or positively. I'm looking at it quite positively, where I'm going, well, loads of people have sold Senesi, for example, or Semenyo now. I can play my team such that I get a fantastic fixture in Burnley at home on paper, and then move it round to bench them, and then sell one of them or sell both of them. And I move it round such that, Virgil's got these brilliant fixtures. Lots of them have got brilliant fixtures. And is it enough yet for me to want to sell Raya? And I don't even know which keeper I'd necessarily go to. And Everton's fixtures aren't great now, or this one, this week, the next couple. Whereas, again, it's all sort of, it's pushing back to where it's moving. And with Arsenal, Saliba's back now. Timber's back to right back, and Hincapié is looking good, and Gabriel's going to come back any moment. And Arsenal are the team that aren't deviating much from anyone, and they're just so solid. And I got Raya at 5.5, and now he's 6 million. And it's kind of nice in a way now. It's back to being nice having Raya, isn't it? Where other people are struggling for goalkeepers, and I'm just like, well, I can. It's going to take quite a lot for me now to want to free up any money from there. So if I can do it such that I can move money around and still get the players that I want. For example, Cunha, and actually have a really strong 11 and a strong first bench, or a decent first bench, even if it was like Mukiele. Mukiele is, like you say, it's interesting because virtually every fixture, apart from the obvious ones, you don't really mind playing him because that's the sort of team Sunderland are. They just seem to they can get results against anyone, and the set pieces and his defcons and stuff like that. I mean, there's a game in a few weeks when I was looking ahead. I can't remember what it is, but I think Virgil's got Arsenal away or something. Mukiele's got West Ham away or Brentford away or something that week, and it's I wouldn't mind playing him at all there if I really wanted to. Just wouldn't mind it at all because of the sort of the strengths of the team and the player. It's something like that. So do you see what I mean? It would take a lot. I don't need to at the moment. If it was you can only get Cunha or some other player that I really wanted, or a Bowen or a Ekitike or something, and the only way to do it was by downgrading Raya, and it was to a keeper who had really good fixtures. Yeah, it's there. He's there as a cash cow in case I want to do it. But right now, it feels quite nice to hang on to him.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at. That's the way I'm viewing my team at the moment. It's not ideal for me. I don't really like going, essentially just going down to one sub, but with such a strong team and such a strong first sub, I don't really mind it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit unfortunate, isn't it? It's a bit frustrating that, again, a 0.1 here and there, and needing to make multiple transfers to get Nico. It's just a little bit frustrating, isn't it? But the ultimate result will look good. Can I just ask one more question? So presumably you'll still have that good first bencher this week. So if there is a problem with Thiago, you'll just carry on regardless, right? Unless it was bad news. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would look like in terms of whether I would change all of my plans, but let's say hypothetically, I made my 2 transfers, and or I didn't know, if I just assumed. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Eric.
There we go. Lovely news from Eno. That's very welcome. Thank you very much, Eno. O'Reilly's just been taken off on the 65th minute.
Which is exactly what we said we would kind of want. So because why else would he do that? But then obviously, we can't predict Pep. It makes no sense. But
Yeah,
I can't remember what I was saying then. So yeah, no, I would leave it unless he was ruled out or we weren't sure. I would still leave it because it's just I want more weeks of. And yeah, I'd be perfectly happy for Virgil, for example, to come off the bench.
Yeah,
So
no, that sounds good. No, that sounds like a good plan. I think, and then so following this week, you'll go into the next round of fixtures with 2, or I'm at.
So if I make those, if I make those moves, if everything goes to plan and I feel like it's safe everywhere else, and I get O'Reilly in, I'll make 2 out of the 3 transfers. So it's not it's annoying because I'd be a couple of transfers up if it wasn't for KDH, but make 2 of the 3, go into next week with 2, and as long as you've got 2, it's decent, isn't it? And then, like I say, I probably wouldn't, again, if no injuries, I'd probably just roll again next week. Bournemouth have got Brentford away, and as I say, the alternatives. It's better to roll, isn't it? I don't need to make any decisions really there. So potentially go in with 3 then. But again, with these planned moves, it goes down, it dwindles quite quickly. It gets a little bit fragile. I've got it. Obviously, I've got it in my mind that if it's a squad that ultimately has got like 11 players and Mukiele first sub, it's okay, but it's fragile. It's a little bit fragile.
So, in that situation, I guess you probably can't do anything in terms of Everton, can you?
Well, again, so I'm glad you said that because originally my plans were different, and I had KDH and stuff, and it was a different structure. And I was almost certain in my mind that I was going to go for an Everton defender in 18, and then I started to find Keane much more appealing, just for the price and stuff like that. But obviously now, having, as I say, thought a lot about O'Reilly and him coming in, so that's another defender spot gone. That's a big one. And then thinking more about Lacroix and not really wanting to get rid of Palace defence, and I'm not really seeing enough to want to do that. And then thinking, well, those defences, like we know those players and defences are just better than Everton's. It doesn't matter what going on with the fixtures. And then, obviously the thing with Everton is, what have they lost at the moment? They've got no Dewsbury Hall. We don't know how long he's out for, but that's significant. No Dewsbury Hall, no Njai, which is really significant. Isn't Grealish missing the next game as well or something?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Idrissa Gueye as well. There's another midfielder, there's someone. But they've been pretty
bad. Garner is the only regular starter that's fine. I saw someone do this on Twitter the other day where it's like 4 of the front 5 or something like this. So
so I think that is significant. That's really significant for the defence. I do. Players like Njai, like that is, being able to hold the ball so well up front and being so good at making decisions in the final third with these sort of Saka type players, and that's what Grealish and Njai are. That's really important for your defence. So I'm not as bothered now at the moment with Everton.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It is slightly annoying, isn't it, with Everton, with the not annoying necessarily, but Keane, Branthwaite back on the grass, etc., etc. It's not a huge fact. I suspect Keane is going to carry on regardless for the next 3 or 4 weeks minimum. But it's just another factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
great player, Branthwaite. We've all forgotten. If he's fit, then you're going to use him at some point.
Well, yeah, no, but there are 2 things that, it's true. It depends what you think, how long term you need it to be. But I think they were saying on the wire is true. Like it's like, again, I think it's offset. What does back on the grass mean? Like apparently Maddison's back on the grass, but he's not playing he's not playing for the next 5 months, and he's been out for ages. So it's more likely that it's going to be longer than we think. I think we could be. And the other thing is Keane's been playing really well.
Yeah,
I know Branthwaite's a good pick, and it's just it's a general important point this, because in terms of like returning from injury and stuff, I always find it quite surprising. So that people talk about, for example, like Gabriel is important in this conversation. People are always like, we've got to be ready to jump on it straight away. Or, I'm like, if he surprise returns this week, that's it, got to get him in or this and that. And I'm like, I don't see it like that at all. Like when a player returns from injury, obviously, of course, we don't know about reoccurrence of injury. We know they're not going to be match sharp. I mean, someone like Gabriel, it's important to topic is, there's Gabriel that's fit and there's a Gabriel that's in absolute beast mode and that just can run like an absolute dog for an entire 90 minutes and score goals and he's unstoppable and he's invincible. There's a completely different thing. So always surprises me. People are always just like, they think that a return from injury is just an immediate comeback in the team, or like I want them and stuff. I'm not like that at all. I'm like, I'm pretty chill. Again, I've got loads of really good players in my team, so I'm perfectly happy to watch someone return from injury for 2 or 3 weeks, see what the minutes look like, see what they look like on the pitch, see how robust it looks, see if they need another rest. And I know that's a slightly separate conversation to the Branthwaite thing, but he's been out for a long time. You know, I think if I was, and again, the fixtures, you know, they're really good, aren't they, for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks for Everton? It's quite a big price difference. I think I wouldn't mind looking at that if it was, wouldn't mind it too much. Although that's not typical of me, but that's because I'm thinking it probably is longer, a lot longer for Keane.
Yeah, you mean Keane against Tarkowski?
Yeah. I do like the Tarkowski, but it's just that there are other things where Keane's been getting loads of defcon and he's been getting like more goal threat, as well as me thinking that, you know, as well as me thinking that he's going to play longer than I think. So I think it's because normally I would just look at Tarkowski, but actually with quite a significant price difference, I'm like, either of them are fine to me.
Yeah, it might even be 0.9 again, which is pretty significant. I think the other thing to say, I know that everyone knows this, but I'll just a reminder. But when Gabriel comes back from injury, when a Branthwaite comes back from injury, centre backs broadly, they want, you know, the manager will want them to play 90 minutes. Whereas a Cole Palmer comes back from injury, obviously really important player, but they can use him for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 55 minutes. And it feels a little bit easier to manage like that. With someone like they will want them to be ready to play 90 minutes when they are ready. I think that's quite significant. So just a factor as well, perhaps to consider when we look at that. But yes, we hope we will bring some of those players back in. But straight away, I don't know. It's a bit of a question mark, isn't it? I think also he's probably going to return at a point where Arsenal have a couple of fairly tricky games. I know they're great, but you know. I think we should probably call time there, because then we can say that we're sub 2 hours, which, to be fair, we thought we were going to be lucky to scrape an hour and a half tonight after our bamboozling start. So please forgive us. Hit like and subscribe, even if you're just being generous at this festive time of year. Yeah, that's absolutely fine by us if you do. But I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's nice for us to speak with you just before Christmas and get ourselves nice and prepared. Hope the game week goes well for you. Any last words from you, Danny?
No, I'm just thinking, I don't know if you want to say, like, well, I don't know, we never know what our plans are, but you might be at home.
Yeah.
Or at least try and do a pod next week. Something to have a few Christmas beers and have a nice little chat of freestyle, and maybe I'll see what.
When you have a few days off before Christmas, that sort of thing?
Yeah. I'll be working from home, doing whatever. So not pretending to work.
So our situation is probably quite similar, given that we work in the same sort of field, right? So it's absolutely fine. I think early next week would be good. Something Monday, Tuesday, something like that. We'll work it out. But yeah, we're pretty sure we'll be out next week. So something to look forward to. The week after Christmas is a little bit more tricky. So we'll figure out something. Great. We'll see you soon. Good luck with your game weeks, and may the triple captain be fruitful. That's what I'm going to say.
That's all. See you later.